everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea, a podcast by Penang Institute. I'm Pey Jung. I'll be your host today, and I'm very happy and very excited to have Eileen and Dipa from LemmeLearn Empowerment Centre joining us today to talk about the work of LemmeLearn Empowerment Centre, as well as how to build an inclusive society that accepts neurodivergent people and cater for them as well. Welcome, Eileen and Dipa.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are very happy to have you here with us. So, starting off with the first thing that we want to know, can you let us know more about LemmeLearn Empowerment Centre? So, what is the centre's core and mission, and what's the kind of work that you do?
Yeah, sure. So, LemmeLearn is an inclusive vocational training centre. We believe that people with autism should be included into society. So they should be seen, they should be heard, and be able to find their valuable role in society. So our mission is really to equip adults with autism for inclusive employment within companies, within the community, and also to create autism awareness within these settings. So for individuals who struggle to attain employment within the community, we have also created several in-house businesses that we aim to make sustainable so that we are able to hire individuals who may need extra support as well. So a lot about just empowering them, enabling them to be out.
So does LemmeLearn focus specifically on adults with autism, or do you also cater for other learning disabilities among adults?
We cater to, we will call them special needs, so the category of people who fall under this special needs, but mostly would be autism, and the majority of our students have autism, and I would say that the bulk of my studies is also within autism as well, but we do have other students who have ADHD, learning disabilities, Down syndrome.
So what's the story behind the establishment of LemmeLearn? So what was the inspiration, or what kind of have set you off on this journey?
So I have been in the field of special education for 15 years, and when I studied my master's in San Francisco, my professors there were pushing for inclusion. So they themselves were inclusion researchers, and they were studying the effects of inclusion within the middle school and high school setting. So they started to really shift my mind to see things differently, and I also started to realize that around me, when I was there, people with disabilities were on the bus, in college, working, some of them getting married, starting a family. So it seemed like there was really no limitation to them. They just put them out into the community and tried, and many of them did well. So if I was just thinking, like, if they're able to push these boundaries because of the equal opportunity that's been given to them, then what would it look like for us here in Malaysia if we also gave people with special needs and disabilities the same type of opportunity to be included? So when I came back, I met up with some parents or students that I used to teach, and at this point they were already like maybe 18, 19, really at a crossroad coming out from school because they didn't know how many more years they could stay in a special school. So that's when myself and my co-founder then, Alison, we started LemmeLearn with this vision of really equipping and empowering towards inclusion.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Dipa? So what drove you to LemmeLearn, and what attracted you to the work?
Initially, when I did my psychology, I didn't think about teaching at all because I think that was one of my biggest fears, standing in front and teaching. But then after my degree, I was wondering what to do next. Then I ended up in another center teaching little kids, and there I fell in love with like teaching them and interacting with them and connecting. That's how I went and studied further, specifically to do with special needs, and then I came across LemmeLearn through my previous ex-co-worker who recommended LemmeLearn to me, and then I saw that their goals were kind of aligned with what I studied as well, so that's how I ended up here and don't want to leave.
Dipa also studied inclusion as well.
Yeah. So did you find that your background in psychology actually helped you in understanding the students better?
I think more theoretically, but then it gets different when you're actually there, present and interacting with them.
That's a very inspiring story behind the setup, actually, and I'm especially attracted by what you say about in the States, where they have probably better facilities and better education, I suppose, about people with special needs and autism, that they are not treated very differently, I suppose, that they are given the opportunities for, I don't want to say normal, I want to say neurotypical, maybe, like you are able to do it if you want to do it. You're able to do it, and LemmeLearn has the tools and the system to empower you to do it. So I think that's really inspiring. Thank you for sharing. So going on, let's talk about some of the programs of LemmeLearn. So what kind of programs do you have, and what kind of impacts do you hope to achieve there?
Yeah, so we have a range of programs catered to different level of students, actually. Some are class-based and some are more hands-on training. So one of our classes include executive functioning, where they learn like essential daily skills, like they need to learn how to organize, prioritize, regulate their emotions as well. And then our functional math, science and technology class, the students learn like certain aspects of functional living and work. So what they learn there, they would be learning to apply in our hands-on part of the program. So for example, one of our work is called Let Me Eat Nasi Lemak, where our students actually prepare the whole nasi lemak from scratch. They learn to gather the ingredients, as well as go out to buy from the market, and then they prepare it, and they also go out to Bihui to set up a stall and also learn to engage with customers as well. And then another hands-on program that we have is catered to students who are more impacted, and it's quite a struggle for them to find employment outside. So we started this, it's called Spice Baby, and it's more like we sell seasonings, so different like garlic powder and onion powder. So these products actually kind of bring out the skills of these students. They are able to do the more simpler tasks like peeling and slicing tasks. Apart from what we do in-house, we also have we also engage with companies outside for on-site training. So these students learn to interact and understand how it feels to work in a real-life setting, because with us, it's kind of like within our control, but outside they get to engage with the community. Yeah.
Would you say that would be one of the most challenging parts of training, in terms of like teaching them how to socialize and interact with people? Or would you find the technical skills training part to be more challenging?
It's a combination of both. I think different students have different strengths as well and different abilities. So there are some students who naturally do tasks quite well, probably because at home they're pretty used to doing tasks, helping parents out. So in those cases, sometimes the task itself is pretty straightforward for us to teach, but the social aspects are a little bit more challenging, where they might need some guidance on how to decipher what people might be thinking, or what people might feel after they do a certain thing. So it really depends on the individual, but yes, both aspects, both the social as well as the tasks, are things that we do teach during our sessions.
So just quickly, I want to understand a little bit about autism in terms of the child and adult spectrum. Is there what are the differences? Because LemmeLearn basically handles adults with learning disabilities, so adults with autism. So when it comes to child autism, do you handle that, or that's out of LemmeLearn's spectrum?
Yeah, we focus a little bit more on the adults. So our main population would be 18 and above. For those who are younger, we don't typically take them in. We do have like a once a week class for those who are teens, so 13 and above. But no, we don't really provide services for younger kids, mainly because there are a lot of places that do provide for the younger population.
Yeah. Would you say there's a marked difference between child and adult autism?
Yes and no. I think definitely you have its challenges. With children, you would, I think the emotional regulation part where they have a lot of outbursts and tantrums, that would be more present perhaps when they're younger, just because they're all learning, including neurotypical children, are learning how to control their
handle emotions,
handling a no from their parents or people in authority, or not fully understanding the surroundings and what situations are appropriate and not. As they get older, I would say certain things do, they understand it better, but there are also challenges that come as well.
So when we talk about autism, especially adult autism, I don't think it's something that comes out in conversation in Malaysia very often. So people tend to shy away from it, right? So that goes across to like even all mental illnesses, mental health people. I mean, I think Asians, more reserved, more kind of like, oh, and also you struggle with, even though it's not something to be shameful of, but I think the Asian mentality unfortunately still boxes it into that box. Okay, is the person, my family is not my family member is not neurotypical. I find it very hard to talk about it. So how important is it that we start engaging in conversations like these to support neurodivergent adults with autism?
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to have this conversation because one of the reasons is the autism prevalence is really climbing exponentially. So just to give you some statistics, in 2004, the prevalence was 1 person in 150. Right, 2004. You fast forward 10 years to 2014, the prevalence is 1 in 59. And then to date, which is 2024, 10 years later, autism prevalence is 1 in 36. So there's really very staggering statistics like this, and we definitely need to do something about it, especially us being in this field. So we are also learning that people with autism are very capable, right? And they are all very different with unique values to bring to a place. So rather than to really stereotype and isolate and not talk about it because we are uncomfortable with the topic, if we're really able to talk about it a little bit more, find solutions to accept and embrace and empower, then really they can bring a lot of value to the community. And when we talk about it more, I think less people are afraid, and there will be more opportunities that will open up for them. So yeah, there are also a lot of, now in recent years, I would say in the past 2 years, there's a lot of corporate interest. So people like Ernst & Young, Petronas, Gamuda, Intel, they are all now seeking to hire neurodivergent talent just because I think they see the value that neurodivergent talent can bring in with lower turnover rates and just very focused on the task, especially if they already have specific skill sets. They're able to focus really well on it and not being involved in office politics and things like that. So yeah, I think the more we talk, the more opportunities really open up for them.
I just want to go back a bit to the statistics that you quoted. I was wondering also, would the prevalence rates be higher as the years go by? Might it also be because people are getting more educated and getting better at recognizing, basically diagnosing autism and neurodivergent spectrum people?
Yeah.
Because in the past, as you have mentioned earlier, people don't talk about it. So you don't you don't get the attention given to autism. So there may be a lot of people with autism that's there, but they are not part of the statistics because they are not diagnosed. Might that also be a reason why the prevalence rate seems to be going up as people are getting more and more educated?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the factors that is pushing the numbers higher. Because like you mentioned, last time when an individual, people used to think that if you have autism, it means that you are cognitively lower, right? Your IQ cannot be high or average because you have autism. So nowadays people are starting to see, oh, well, you could have someone who has pretty good cognitive ability, but they're still socially pretty impacted by their autism. So I do think so.
Yeah. So expanding on that point about, so kind of like, because you were saying that people tend to think that people with autism are not as smart, I guess, in some sense, to put it in plainer terms. So that obviously is a misconception, because you have people who are autistic who are brilliant. So other than that, I just want to ask, what are some of the other common misconceptions about autism?
Do you, maybe I can ask you, what do you think when I say autism, what are some of the thoughts that you come to your mind?
Well, I guess the first thing that comes into my mind is they have special needs.
Yeah.
They are different in the sense of that they have different learning spectrums. So they may not learn the same as you and I do.
Correct.
In that sense. And also probably, I would think that there are people who would need more help in their daily life. They would need more attention, and they would need specialized attention, I guess, in that sense. So I don't know whether this is like maybe the politically correct way to see it, but I just see them as people who are very smart. They have different abilities, but they need more help in getting out those abilities. And also we need to be more patient with them. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I think you got a good grasp of it. I think, okay, from us going out to the community and to companies, one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that people with autism have a very bad temper. They can have big outbursts, and then which can result in things just going bad going south. So because of this, we have a lot of colleagues who will be afraid to give feedback to the neurodivergent co-workers.
So one of our companies that a couple of our students have been going to, so after a few months, actually the boss was liaising with us, like giving us feedback on the students' performance, and then that's when they actually mentioned, they have been wasting a lot of tape, because one of their tasks is to tape boxes. So then we were quite concerned, why didn't they mention this at the start itself, because they could have. And then when we asked them, that's when the boss was mentioning like, oh no, we don't know how they would react, we don't know if they would actually accept feedback. So this is one of the things that we actually learned from how she expressed to us, that they don't understand that just like us, when we go and work somewhere, we also make mistakes, and we also need to be told how to do certain things. So that is the same for them as well. The only main thing that needs to be known is how do you actually say it to them. The message sent across needs to be more respectful and clear, so that they can actually understand, and not in a rude or scolding way. I think even if we were to get scolded, we would be affected. It's the same for them.
So I think another misconception which we get a lot is in the olden days, not olden days, I would say like maybe 20 years ago. 20 years ago, people would think that people with autism are really, really slow. So now in more recent years, I think due to like K-dramas and different series, now they are thinking, okay, people with autism are really, really gifted. And I think both of these assumptions can have quite a negative effect on on people with autism. Yeah, even though like you would think, oh, actually being gifted is a good thing, right? Because then people would see you as better. But the issue here is that people will not view them as equals, but view them as different, either higher or lower. And it's not really sustainable. So I'll give you an example. We have one student who goes into our partner company, which is an urban farm. And our student will be doing like transplanting of these hydroponics seedlings. And so this particular student who goes there, he loves singing, and he actually has a very good voice. So he enjoys singing there. And so initially when he went in and he started singing, the co-workers were all so fascinated. Oh, pandai, bagus. They all really enjoyed his singing a lot. And that was great, so they would even ask him to sing and all when he was working. But as time went by, the specialness of his singing and the novelty of it just slowly started to wear off.
Because it becomes a everyday thing.
Yeah, it's like every day your coworker is singing and singing so loudly and singing the same song again and again. It's just a lot. So what happens is the coworkers then start to see like, oh, because they started off already with a conception that you are different from me and you're allowed to do all these things. But when they come to a place where they are unable to take it anymore, they don't know how to respond. And that's where it gets very tricky. So places that overhype or maybe undermine what they're able to do and don't see them for who they are really then make it very difficult for them to continue working there.
That's like another example would be like there's another student at a different company where he doesn't do singing, but he's quite good at, usually at the beginning he's quite good at showing his skills because he's very new and he's very excited. So then when he started work there, he was like performing really well, and because it's in a kitchen, so the co-workers were also again amazed, like, wow, he's actually able to cut all the vegetables and store, like he was able to do a lot of the tasks well. But they were also like they were also like taking care of him at the same time. So they'll be like, if he were to make mistakes, they won't really correct him much. They'll be like, it's okay, never mind, I'll fix it. Or if let's say he didn't clear his station after he's done with like preparing the ingredients, also they would be like, never mind, it's okay, I'll clean it up later. So they start off with giving him that freedom a bit. Correct. Then again, as time passed by, then to him, he would be like, oh, okay, I can actually just leave my station like this, like somebody's going to clean it for me. But then as time passed, they would suddenly have like a more realer like expectation, like, oh, at work you should be the one to learn to clean up, but then why aren't you doing it? Then
that's when conflict comes up.
Correct. So that's something that is quite important to be set from the beginning. Like they need to learn to set the rules and
boundaries in a work setting, especially. And it also doesn't help like when we see individuals as gifted as well. Initially we were also trying to figure out like, why is it bad? It's not bad, right? At least you're seeing good things in them. But sometimes what happens is we have a misconception of what gifted is. So when they're unable to meet up to that, that's when we get really confused, or neurotypicals get very confused, because it's like you are really smart in this area, but how come you struggle to understand the common sense type things that are very simple? And that's where people start to feel a sense of frustration, and oftentimes because of this the bullying can come in, or just people making fun of them. It comes in . So these are some of the things that we experience with our students. We have a 10A student who comes in for our work prep program, and he got 10As for SPM. So that's why he himself says that his own parents don't really feel that he has autism, but he knows that he has, and it's pretty clear to us that he has autism. So this boy, when he is so smart, even though he's so smart, he's unable to understand why you cannot comment on a person's body, you know. Yes, all of these things. And he's trying to understand why. So thankfully, we are able to explain it to him in a way that he can understand. But if he were to ask a co-worker, the co-workers would just really have a very negative view on him.
Yeah, kind of like, hey, don't know how to talk one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, how come you ask this kind of question?
Yeah. But going back to the point about your corporate partners, because Dipa was saying that, then even Eileen yourself, you were saying that, so you're very careful about certain things and then not saying certain things and being extra careful, giving extra attention and extra leeway. So I'm just wondering, do your corporate partners go through any kind of training with LemmeLearn about how to basically manage their special needs workers?
Yeah, we do go in to share an awareness session, autism awareness session with many of our partners, in fact most of them. So we would go in and try to help them understand what it is that our students struggle with, so that they have a clearer understanding. And also we do give in like personal profiles. So because every student is pretty different, so we try to give a personal profile to the companies right as they go in to help them understand what these students struggle with, what they're good at, how you could handle some of the situations that might come up. So all of this is the supports that we would give to them.
And we would actually also go in with the students as well.
Yes.
Until we know that they're able to do they are a bit more independent, then only we fade off.
Yeah, so we'll educate the co-workers when we are inside as well. So not only just teaching the student themselves, but we find it very important for the co-workers around to know how to handle different things that arise.
So what are the kind of jobs that the companies provide? So what kind of jobs do they do? Is it kind of like packing, or do they do any paperwork, clerical work?
So currently we have the urban farm, they would do transplanting. At the kitchen, they would do kitchen work, kitchen prep, so cutting, peeling, grating, all of those things. We have a work prep group that goes into, they went into a e-commerce retail company, so they did a lot of checking before they send out any of the parcels. They have to check through. So they did that, and they're now at a law firm also doing administrative type tasks. So it really depends on their ability level. Did I miss out any other companies?
We also have a student working as a waiter. But it's more like not really taking orders, but more like clearing the plates and serving food.
Yeah, and we have one that does packing as well for like the nuts and different things.
So can we talk about some of the biggest challenges that's faced by people with autism? Because I'm just thinking, hearing about you talking about workplace and how some of their workers behave towards them, I would think ableism is a big challenge.
I think the main challenges that our students face, it would be in understanding people, right? Being able to understand the not so obvious things, the unspoken things like intention, emotion. So that's a big one. The second one would be repetitive type behaviors. So either in their words, constantly repeating certain things that they enjoy, or in their actions, maybe like I don't know, like wiping glass, like their spectacles often, those types of repetitive behaviors. And then the third one would be in communication. Some of our students are really good at communicating, but we have a group that is not. So really, they're able to speak, they're able to tell you what they think, but the way that they structure their sentences
their thoughts,
and their thoughts isn't very clear to people who may not have much experience with talking to them. So these are the three main areas, I would say.
So, but how do you, so in terms of the social cues and, the way that you communicate, I guess, and interact with people. So some of the challenges that comes out there, how do you and your trainers kind of navigate that? So is it just talking it through with them, or how do you, I don't want to use the word train, so how do you educate them to take social cues and things like that?
We have a program that we get from the US. It's called Social Thinking, and it's a great program because it really enables the individual to know how to decipher the social world. So it's not really giving them hard and fast rules like must look at the person you are talking to, or you must say hello to new people. It's not like that, but it's really like a lot of concepts of thinking with your eyes. So giving them the knowledge that when you're looking at something, you are actually deciphering all of what is happening there. There's also, so they will give them vocabulary like flexible versus stuck. Are you being stuck, or can we be flexible? And within this program, there are stories that are attached to it. Yeah. So then our students will be able to link the stories together with the concepts, and we are able to also use the language with them. For example, like, let's make sure that your body is in the group. So sometimes they are not even aware that they have maybe gone off somewhere else. And they are still listening to what's happening, but maybe their body is facing somewhere else. So then we just remind them, make sure your body is in the group. So then they turn back in because they already know the story and they know the concept behind it. So these are some of the things that we would do to enable them to understand a little bit more.
So going back to LemmeLearn and your programs, so adults with learning disability, special needs, and autism, they all exist on different spectrums, right? So how are you able to recognize their spectrums? So because your center has different learning programs for different levels, different skills. So what kind of assessments do you do, or how do you decide where to place which student into certain programs?
So we do have an assessment that we will do before they come in, and this pre-assessment allows us to, it consists of a variety of different activities that they would carry out together with our trainer, and then another trainer would sit down with the parents to kind of go through a home checklist just to assess how much they do at home. So usually the combination of understanding how much they do at home together with how they are within those activities that we have presented to them, we will be able to have a clearer idea, though not a complete idea, but a clearer idea of where they're at, what's their communication level like, what's their task and ability level like, are they organized, do they have sensory issues? So these are things that we would assess and see. And then we do have, like, for our work prep students who have finished SPM or who have finished college, typically we would give a higher level type of assessment for them that consists of more problem solving. Then we will see how they are. Yeah,
I see. So in terms of the work placements that you found your students, are these placements usually permanent, contracted, or how does it work?
Usually it's permanent. We did have a contracted one where they did like mooncake during the mooncake festival. Yeah. They folded boxes and packed the mooncakes, but most of it is we hope for it to be long term and then to be permanent. Our main hope is that they would increase in their hiring also from maybe 3 days a week to 4 days to 5 days to full time. Yeah.
How are you finding the acceptance of neurodivergent people in the workspace? I think for Malaysia, we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think?
In terms of your interactions, even with companies and corporates, because especially with like big MNCs, yes, they have a big corporate interest, but I would think most of them would probably work on the spectrum of CSR. So look, I'm fulfilling my corporate social responsibility, right? But I guess my question would be like, how serious are you about fulfilling that part of your social responsibilities? Is it just a tick mark off my KPI to say, yeah, look, I did this. I took in special needs students from LemmeLearn. I gave them a job. But I guess my question is, in your interaction with your corporate partners and sponsors, are most of them actually very open and very willing to learn about people with special needs, or really it's just a ticky box thing to say, look, I did my part?
I think some would start off like with that idea, and maybe they might feel like they might use certain terms describing that idea, but then as they do see the consistency in the performance of our students as well, they do feel like, oh, actually they can do, and then they are a bit more open. And when they do communicate it back with us, like, hey, today he didn't do very well, or he did this, like, how can I guide them? Or when they do have the regular conversation with us, that's when it shows that they have the interest and like they want to put in effort to try to support the student as well. So in terms of that, I think most of our companies are quite supportive.
Yeah, I would say that those who actually take the time to give us feedback, to take the time to allow us to come in to job coach, to give us that constant feedback. We do have log sheets that we get our students to ask from their supervisor to fill up. So those are the companies that we really see our students are able to thrive there, and it's typically much longer than the usual just short span.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I guess the next thing I want to ask the two of you is that in terms of language terms used to talk about people with autism and special needs, how do we avoid ableism? What are some of the not so acceptable terms? How should we refer to them with respect? Because when I was preparing for questions and learning more about autism and LemmeLearn, I was also very careful about my language as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to come across as ableist. I don't want to be using the wrong kind of terms that might hurt the community. So I guess this is a good chance for you to let everyone know, our listeners know, how do we talk about these people, the people with special needs, respectfully?
Yeah, so I think we were always taught to have people first language. So the person first before the disability. That's why we usually will say a person with autism rather than an autistic person. So this is typically how we would do it. However, I will say that there are people within the autistic community who are autistic themselves. They actually are so proud of the fact that they are autistic that they want to take away person first language because it's part of their identity. So those individuals will say, I am autistic and I'm proud to be autistic, so call me autistic, rather than a person with autism. So my thoughts are this: probably we want to stick with person first language, especially from a neurotypical standpoint. You don't go around and say, hey, you're autistic. We want to say, like, you're a person with autism. I think that's more respectful. But if they insist on saying, I want autism to be my identity and I want to really be seen as this, then okay, then we can shift it to be that. I think very similar with like racial type things in the US especially, right? Certain groups will prefer to be to certain terminology, but it comes from the group itself. For us, from an outsider, we should not just put that label on them without them giving us the green light to do so.
Yeah. So kind of like following their lead.
Correct.
In that sense.
Yeah.
I see. So going on to the next question. So I just want to hear more about the real life stories, real life experiences of both Eileen and Dipa yourselves. Can you share some inspiring stories throughout your experience with LemmeLearn? Any stories that particularly stand out, a success story, or something that actually touched you very deeply in your interactions with your students?
So one of it that I've seen from like when I first joined till now is that so every end of term break, like right before the break, we organize a hangout with the students. So trainers together, we will plan out like where to go, what activities to do, or what they want to eat. So usually we do get them to give us give us their opinion of where they want to go. We guide them through that, and that's something they really, really look forward to and really enjoy so much that recent times they've been like asking, so one particular student's always asking like, when are we going to hang out next? Like he's always looking forward to more hangouts but this student is the kind of student that has really big difficulty in initiating things. He needs help to initiate. Like he won't be able to initiate on his own.
But he's very, very fond of all these activities and programs.
Yeah. So this is something he was bringing up quite often, that we kind of directed him into like, hey, maybe you should plan a hangout with your friends. So we supported him in planning it out, like how like he needs to invite his friends, and he needs to have a proper program flow. Like he needs where he wants to go out.
We gave him guidelines
yeah.
of what he should look for and what he should plan out.
Yeah. So then through that, he started going out with his, inviting his friends and creating a WhatsApp group as well for this group of them to hang out. And then they will go hang out in Gurney Plaza or Gurney Paragon. So at the beginning when they went, we trainers, we kind of were worried, so we were kind of stalking them. So we actually went there as well, but we didn't inform them. We just wanted to see what they were up to. And there's another student that's always sending us pictures of, he's always keeping us update on, like, he's like, oh, Miss Dipa, I'm in Toys R Us now, or I'm here now. So we're like, okay, now we know, okay, this person is in, the group is in this location.
Yeah.
So we like slowly peek, and then actually saw them, they were all just together. And then the difference in their, their understanding. So like one student is a bit more independent. So he is also, it's amazing to see, because he's also understanding of how some other students are not so independent, that he would actually put in the effort to guide the student that's not so independent in like ordering the food, asking, and also like making payments and all. So when we saw the togetherness with them, then we're like, okay, I think it's safe for us to like back away a bit. So then now they go and we don't really follow, since we also get updates on WhatsApp.
Yeah, to really see them grow and blossom is a very, very wonderful thing. And we not only see our students grow, but we see the community grow too. So if you didn't know, LemmeLearn is right smack in a very strategic place. So we are right by the market, right by Bandar Baru, right by all the hawker centers around. And what our students do is they'll go out every day for lunch. They'll go out to buy things from the market, from Bandar Baru. And we've also been able to see the community really shift to learn how to help them. So we have like the hawker, the chicken rice auntie can take orders from all our students, even the most impacted student who with minimal verbal ability, he can only say one word or two words at a time. Chicken rice auntie can get his order, wait for him to pay, and like he does it all independently. And the only reason why he's able to have this opportunity is because the chicken rice auntie was patient enough with him and learned how to accommodate for him lah. And so like not only her, the market also, they will be helping our students. Sometimes they will go to one store and we told them to buy these things from this store. And then when they tell the shopkeeper, these are the things that I need, the shopkeeper doesn't have a certain ingredient, he will go and ask other hawkers, whether other shops and stalls whether they have it, just to help our students out. So I think the learning and the growth is not only coming from just our students changing, but it is the community that is really embracing them and changing to help them. And that is what makes a huge difference. I think that's what we really want people to understand, is when the community is able to change, to protect them, to enable them, to care for them, then parents will have this ease that, okay, my child will be fine as they grow older.
No, I think the community story is especially inspiring, to know that everyone in the market, the hawkers, the shopkeepers are all kind of like rallying around the students and really also helping them to be independent. So helping them to be independent outside the center, I think that's a very, very good learning experience for them as well. Yeah, that's very heartwarming.
Yeah.
So Bandar Baru, the market
Bandar Baru, and then the market, also the wet market too.
I see.
Anytime they go out there, and all the kopitiams, Bihui kopitiam, and all the kopitiams around, when they go out, you will be able to know that they'll be well taken care of there.
It's the Bandar Baru Bihui, not the Pulau Tikus Bihui. We also have a Bihui cafe at Pulau Tikus. So just now when you were talking about
it's
the
a Pulau Tikus Bihui.
Okay, because when you were talking about the LemmeLearn Nasi Lemak, I was going to say, okay, I need to see one day when LemmeLearn is there, I need to go and pick up some for myself.
Yes, the same row as Baskin Robbins, so it's that one.
Yeah, so on that, so I know, so you have the LemmeLearn Nasi Lemak, you have the spices, and I am a big fan of your kombucha. Are there any other products that your students make?
These are the three main ones for now. Yeah, we tried a lot of different things, but I think these three are pretty steady now.
What are some of the other things that you have tried?
Last time we had
was like we were doing frozen food, so we made a lot of
lasagna,
cottage pie, and different varieties, and we used to do that. We also did breakfast called Grab and Go, and then it was not very sustainable.
Yeah, some were good and some were not sustainable, and the ones that were not, we just know that this is not good fit for us.
Would you say your most successful one would be the kombucha? Because I see it around.
You see it around, yeah. I would say that for now it's definitely most established, but also people don't really know that it's been 7 years. So it's been around for 7 years.
Okay, count me in as one of those who didn't know that it's been around for so long.
Yeah, it's definitely not an overnight thing. You know, it wasn't like, in a year it just blew up. No, it wasn't like that.
So basically, that means LemmeLearn's kombucha is probably one of the earliest ones in the market, because kombucha didn't start becoming trendy until lately, right?
Correct. Yes, it's probably one of the first, because I loved it when I was overseas, and then it was very limited here. So
So with the kombucha, the students learn to make it themselves from scratch, right?
We have one brewer, and then we have some assistants to help him lah. So he's the main guy he used to be our students, now he's our full-time staff, and he spends his whole day making kombucha. So he's the expert at it.
So in that sense, do your students, so would you say that your students graduate from the center, or how would you, so when they are independent enough to maybe not needing to come to the center anymore, would you call that like a graduation, or how would you put it?
Yeah, we would say that we graduate them lah. Yeah, we have a few students who are already working outside, so they might come back maybe once a week or something. It's a very small amount of time they would spend with us, but most of the time they'll be working outside.
So as kind of like a closing question, I would like to ask both of you, what do you hope to see for the inclusion of adults with autism and neurodivergent individuals in the future? What do you think, I guess, realistically, can the government do, or the community, or what are your hopes for the future?
I think there's a lot of hopes.
We have time to go through all the hopes.
Probably
your biggest hope.
Yeah. I think having big opportunity for them would be wonderful, right? So meaning that if we are really going towards the direction of being inclusive, if every business, big business, small businesses, corporate companies, if they're just hiring even just one person with special needs or disabilities or autism, it doesn't matter, then we would have so many more opportunities for employment outside. So I think if the companies can just hire one, right, which I do think the government has been putting in a lot of efforts to try and get people to hire. And of course, government-wise, that all of this requires funding. So to be able to make this funding more accessible for social enterprises like ours, to be able to be well equipped and to be sustainable, that would be great. This type of support from the government and the community. I think we cannot do anything without the community coming alongside, parents.
So one thing I was like trying to think of explaining is that, so we generally would like to be understood and also to have a sense of belonging, like everybody in general. And just like if you could just imagine if you yourself are in a place where you don't feel like you belong, like how would you actually feel in that moment, or what kind of thoughts would you actually have, like the struggles you would be facing. So this is something a bit more amplified for these individuals, and it's a bit more harder for them because they also struggle to express sometimes, and also they might not even know that they're even feeling such feelings in the first place, but they know that they're feeling something. So that's where we need to play a part in trying to help them feel understood, and also to help create a sense of belonging for them as well. So that's where we need to try to support and accommodate them and make them feel included. To remember that they also are just human beings with emotions.
Yeah, and needs just like us.
Yeah.
So just basically building an inclusive society and community for everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there any kind of last thoughts that you want to share with our listeners?
Just be more empathetic, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. When you get to know people with autism, you really will be able to understand a little bit more. And when you lean in just a little bit to understand what they're experiencing, what they're going through, you will be able to have what it takes to help. And I would say one of the things that we've been talking about quite a bit is it's okay to help them. Help them in a way where you are not necessarily doing everything for them, but like it's okay to give them feedback. It's okay to tell them, to help explain certain things socially to them where they might not understand.
Yeah.
So like if someone is talking a lot and they are on the spectrum, it's okay to tell them, okay, you've been talking quite a bit, like maybe let's let other people talk. Yeah, so these are some small ways that anyone can do. I don't think it needs to only come from the family of the special needs individual, but anyone can do, and it will allow everyone to be a lot more comfortable with someone who is neurodivergent in that same space.
Okay, thank you very much, Eileen and Dipa, for your insightful thoughts today. I'm sure everyone will really enjoy this session. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much.